Hey YouTube, going to talk to you guys about high school football living legend, living scumbag, Rush Propst. If you guys didn't know, Rush Propst resigned a couple weeks ago now, and maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And Rush Propst resigned from Pell City High School in Alabama. And if you don't know who Rush Propst is, remember Two-A-Days in the early 2000s? It was on MTV. He was the head coach at Hoover High School. Got caught cheating, doing some terrible things. By the way, if you want to look into Hoovergate, that's an incredible story. I actually did a TikTok video on it a while back. But I was talking about Rush Propst and his second family. It's okay to cheat. Like, I understand people want to cheat in their marriages and stuff, and more power to you. That's on you. I'm not going to judge you for it. We've all been there. We've all had some poor decision making and maybe did something nobody approves of, and ethics and all that other shit. But having a second family underneath the nose of your wife is wild to me. Having your mistress and her kids, who you are the father to, come to the football games as well and sit there with a sign on one end of the bleachers, and the other packed end of the bleachers is your wife and your actual kids. Okay, that just absolutely ridiculous conduct. I don't even want to tell you what we used to call that when I was in the Army. We called it something tendencies. This dude had something tendencies is what I'll say. So anyways, this dude ends up going to Colquitt County, right, in Georgia, gets there, does some terrible things, unethical things. He's always cheating, ends up getting fired. And then he goes to Valdosta, I believe. And when he got to Valdosta, that's when Nubby caught him. Nubby was part of the booster club or whatever it was, and Nubby recorded him as he was saying, we need some funny money. We need to pay players. We need to start paying for apartments and get players in here. That's how you cheat. That's how Nick Chubb got paid. All this stuff he was saying. This dude is out of control. So we know he cheats everywhere he goes, and everybody always goes, but Rico, he's a hell of a coach. He's a hell of a coach. Yeah, man, he's just an unethical person, and I don't necessarily want somebody like that mentoring and teaching men and young men. And yeah, he gets to Pell City. They're losing right away, and I did have the father of the quarterback who transferred from California. The father reached out to me on TikTok in the DMs, and he just said, hey, Rico, I did move my son out there. I wanted him to play for a good coach, a known winner, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Pell City didn't win any games this year. It's hard to win when you can't recruit illegally, when you're not paying the players, when you're not cheating. It's hard to win. And I get that. It's going to take a while, especially you can't just magically make these kids winners. So Rush Propst is a coaching genius or whatever, but he's still a perennial shitbag. And he resigned, and I remember I was getting comments just last night about this, right? I was getting comments from a guy telling me, you don't even know why he resigned. He resigned for the quote-unquote safety of his players. I just posted this video on TikTok, by the way. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's somebody in the comments saying this man resigned for the safety of his players. I don't understand what safety the players gained when he resigned. He was feeding the players with funds that he shouldn't have been using. Yes, somebody's snitching on him. Okay. Let me say something to you guys. I have sources in my DMs daily that are snitching on people, and there's one in particular. Shout out to this man. He's at the school board meetings. He's there for the votes. He's there in the room with all the decision makers. I want to say he's on the Pell City School Board. He's whatever county that is, Jefferson County. Yeah, Jefferson County School Board. Whatever it is, somebody out there is in the in and in the know, and he writes me every chance he gets in regards to Rush Propst. So I know everything about the Rush Propst situation before it goes off. This is a true statement. Sometimes I'll tell him, hey man, I'm just going to sit on this for a little bit, wait for a website to report it, because there's nothing, like when I break the news, all I get is animosity and people saying, how do you know that? Where did you hear that? And all this. And it's just too much to reply back to everybody because they don't ever want you to be the source. They need it on a website or they don't believe it. So now that I've learned that over the last 2 years, I try not to break any news. I really don't. I just let these ridiculous websites post it, and then I'll talk about it. But the DMs are there. The information's there. And I knew about this one for a little bit. I didn't know the gist, or I didn't know the numbers. I just knew somebody said, the guy tells me, hey, he resigned because he didn't want to pay his wife. Well, it turns out he owes his ex-wife $123,000. Shout out to Tammy, by the way, his ex-wife. Yeah, man, this is terrible. When you get divorced, for those of you who don't know, yes, there's a division of property. There's a division of property. I've been divorced twice, so I know this. And then there are things you need to discuss, things you probably need to go to mediation for, things that need to be divvied out. And usually it's child support. And then there's something called spousal support, or commonly referred to as alimony. And spousal support is meant to be a temporary payment to help one of the spouses, convert or transition to single life, especially if they were financially dependent upon you. So if you were the provider of the family and your spouse had to be a housewife in order to support your career and your nomadic career where you're moving, things of that nature, then you probably owe your spouse some spousal support. Maybe. Usually it's like a 2-3 year period, and that's it. Well, in this case, Rush Propst was such a vile human being, such a terrible person for that second family he had. By the way, his mistress is his current wife. She was living in Pell City, Alabama. He was such a terrible person. The judge awarded Tammy $2,000 in spousal support for the rest of her life. That's right. She got a pension, bro. $2,000 for the rest of her life. She's a retired first sergeant. I don't know what to say to her. She just hit the jackpot. She hit the lottery. And they've been divorced for a while now. The rules were, as long as she wasn't remarried, living in domicile with another man. By the way, here's the court document, okay? And I want to get to this. I read it all. It's a quick read. It's only 3 pages long. And but this is the best part right here. This is crazy, bro. As long as she didn't remarry, didn't cohabitate with another male, and I believe that was it, she gets $2,000 a month. And for 53 months, Rush Propst said, bump that shit, I ain't paying it. This is deadbeat dad type stuff. I know there's some guys out there like, well, the court's always effing over the man. The courts are always against the man. Look, man, this guy is not somebody you should be defending. This is not somebody you should be okay with. He didn't follow his obligations. Now, the court said down here, he'll be found in contempt unless he pays $35,000. This man's going to jail. This man's going to jail. He needs to pay a $35,000 bond. I don't know if he paid it. There's no documentation saying he did or didn't pay it. I'm assuming Jefferson County wants a response. But the man owes 53 months worth of payments, plus interest, plus court fees, and that's how you get to that magical $123,000 in the headline of that article. Rush Propst, terrible person, bro. Terrible person. You want to see something crazy? This was electronically filed on the 16th of April. If you didn't know, later that day, Rush Propst resigned. Okay? So if he wants to tell you this is coincidental, he wants to tell you this is not why he resigned for the safety of his athletes and all this other shit. No. This right here, this man was they were going to garnish his wages, $2,000 a month. They were going to take it from him. And you can't garnish my wages if I don't have a job, so I'm just going to quit. Now how are you going to get the money? This dude is playing with fire. He's a terrible person. Don't ever defend this type of conduct because somebody's winning football games, especially high school football games. This is a criminal. Everywhere he goes, unethical, terrible decision making. I'm just disappointed cancer didn't take his life. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows.